An elderly man was walking on the street when he suddenly lost his balance and fell heavily to the ground. He tried to push himself up using his hands, but his arms were too weak to support him. In front of him, a woman wearing a scarf did not notice the elderly man at first. When she turned around after finishing what she was doing, she saw the elderly man. Would she help him? Instead of assisting, she simply moved her electric bike aside and walked off without looking back. Then, two more electric vehicles appeared in the scene. They glanced at the elderly man and quickly left. 20 years ago, such a scene would have been unimaginable in China, but today it has become a common occurrence. What kind of society has this become? How did it turn out this way?
我告诉你们几个恶心的真相啊！
Let me tell you some disgusting truths. You won't understand unless you've been betrayed by society. An elderly person fell while exercising in the morning in Changsha, and 49 people passed by without anyone calling the police until the elderly person stopped breathing. Honestly, I was quite shocked. No one there to help, I can understand that, but not even calling the police. I didn't expect that. It was only after watching the news that I realized that calling the police not only takes time to write a report, but you also have to find a way to prove your innocence. Can you bear that? The police will find you through your phone number. Let me tell you, I have a friend who also saw an elderly person fall and called the police. The police asked him to write 3 reports. He missed work, had 2 days' salary deducted, lost his perfect attendance bonus, got scolded half to death by his wife, and was ridiculed at work for a year. If you're even more unlucky and encounter a deceptive elderly person or unreasonable family members, you're basically done for. Now, if you help someone on the street, you're essentially gambling with your own and your family's happiness. If there's surveillance footage, it's fine. At most, the family will apologize, but if there's no evidence and you can't prove your innocence, you could end up having to pay tens of thousands. If one person doesn't help or 2 people don't help, it might be a personal problem. But if 49 people pass by and no one helps, then it's a problem with the system. The system is the problem. Let me tell you something you didn't expect. How do I know 49 people didn't call the police? Because the family sued all 49 of them. Although the court eventually didn't support the lawsuit, think about it. If you encounter such a family, would you dare to help? If you really helped, you can't imagine what kind of trouble the family might cause you. An elderly person fell in front of a small shop and the shop owner didn't dare to help. Later, the elderly person's son came to argue. Below is the conversation between the shop owner and the elderly's family. I won't help. Except for my father, I will never help other elderly people. I know that there are families like yours, so I dare not help. If you had helped, there wouldn't be an issue. It's just a hospital visit, just a skin injury. But since you didn't help, no one else dared to. If you had been the first to help, others would have said you helped too. What are you afraid of? Someone will testify that you deliberately didn't help. I'm telling you, you will pay the money whether you like it or not. This son really takes shamelessness to a new height. It turns out that helping costs money, but now even not helping costs money. How dare he boldly go and demand compensation? Thankfully, I didn't help. If I had, the small shop would have been handed over to him. It's because of people like this that society's moral environment is getting worse. Now, who would dare to help when they see an elderly person fall? If you don't help, nothing happens. But once you reach out to help, the trouble will stick to you like a shadow that you can't get rid of. Call the police will never finish with you. Call ambulance, the hospital won't be finished with you. If you help, the family won't be finished with you. The shop owner is definitely relieved that he didn't help. Facing such a shameless family, I think there's no need to argue. Just call the police and accuse them of extortion. There's no law that says you have to help. Do you know who the culprit is that makes people afraid to help elderly people? On October 20th, 2006, 64-year-old Xu Xiulian fell while getting off a bus in Nanjing. A 24-year-old man, Peng Yu, kindly helped her, took her to the hospital, and even paid 200 yuan for her hospital fees. Afterward, Xu actually sued Peng in court. The judge, Wang Hao, said something shocking. Quote, "If you didn't hit her, why did you help her?" Unquote. As a result, Peng had to pay 60,000 yuan in compensation to Xu. Currently, Peng and the related individuals have left Nanjing and have not been seen since. Xu, unable to bear the insults from neighbors, had to move and passed away in 2010. Her son was removed from his position for violations, and the presiding judge, Wang, was also suspended for review. Society claims that this case set China's moral standards back at least 100 years.
And then there's the vicious mutual fighting. If someone hits you, you can't fight back. Fighting back is mutual fighting. You can avoid it, but you can't hit back. What logic is that? One person said, it's like two pigs fighting in a pig pen, and the owner doesn't care about the cause. All they want is silence, so they give each pig 2 slaps.
Why didn't you run away when they hit you? Why did you fight back? Why couldn't you just bear it? On October 10, 2014, several students at Beijing's Shougang Institute of Technology were doing physicality tests. 21-year-old Liu Zhenzhe was passing by when a student, Wang, accidentally fell. Wang blamed Liu and held a grudge. That night, Wang and a few friends decided to vent their anger. They broke into Liu's dormitory and beat him. Afterward, they dragged him to the hallway and continued to beat him. In the chaos, Liu picked up a fruit knife to defend himself, leading to the unfortunate death of 2 classmates. In court, after reviewing surveillance footage, it was clear that Liu had been far away from Wang during the physicality test, meaning that someone else might have affected him. Wang most likely blamed the wrong person, possibly thinking Liu was easier to bully and decided to vent on him. However, the presiding judge of the case, Yan Fang, shockingly asked Liu these 3 questions. Why didn't you run when they hit you? Why did you fight back? Why couldn't you just bear it? Unquote. Ultimately, Liu's self-defense claim was not accepted, and the court sentenced him to 15 years in prison for intentional injury, with a fine of 88,000 yuan. This case, with Judge Yan Fang and the judge from the Peng Yu case, Wang Hao, has earned him the title of unspeakable scum in today's Chinese judicial system. The negative impact on society is immeasurable, and it is evident how parents are now teaching their children.
Don't get involved in others' business. Don't take advantage. Don't help the elderly. Don't buy stocks. Don't watch crowds. Don't eat takeout. Don't trust experts. Don't trust advertisements. Don't trust professors. Don't buy what others recommend. Don't take out loans. Don't mortgage. Don't donate blood.
This survival rule is widely circulated in China today, but who can simply say whether it is right or wrong? On a rainy morning, a woman was riding an electric bike slowly. The road was slippery and she lost control of the bike, falling heavily to the ground along with the bike. The sound of her fall immediately caught the attention of a man nearby, and the woman in red passing by was also startled by the scene and stopped walking. The man glanced around but took no action, then lowered his head to continue using his phone. Another woman on an electric bike also looked at the fallen woman, but seeing no one helping, quickly sped off without a word. After hesitating for a long time, the woman in red finally stepped forward to help. As she passed by the man, they exchanged a glance and he awkwardly smiled. She had seemed ready to help, but instead, she quickly passed him and left in a hurry. Even more heart-wrenching was that the cars passing by showed no intention of stopping to help the woman. She lay there hopelessly with cars rushing by, posing a risk of further injury. The man, seeing the road becoming crowded, quickly put away his phone and drove off, glancing back at the woman as he left. One can't help but wonder what he was thinking at that moment. As time passed, more and more people gathered, laughing and talking as if watching a joke. Amidst the laughter, a man in black walked up. He picked up a flower pot from the ground and quickly approached the fallen woman. Everyone was shocked, not knowing what he was about to do. It turned out that he placed the flower pot in front of her as a roadblock to prevent passing cars from running over her. In the comment section, one person said, quote, "Is this flower pot the last bit of kindness from Chinese people? It's so sad," unquote. Another person commented, quote, "Judge Wang Hao, this prosperous world is exactly as you wished," unquote.
王浩法官，你满意了吧？现在这个社会如你所愿了。
Judge Wang Hao, are you satisfied now? This society is exactly as you wished. Here's what happened. Yesterday, an elderly person in our town fell. At first, I didn't dare to help. But when I saw him lying there so helpless, with cars and people passing by, no one dared to step forward and help. It was so heartbreaking to watch. Who doesn't grow old? Who doesn't have elderly people at home? If it were your own family member lying there with no one to help, wouldn't you feel hatred towards this society? As a small food vendor, my grandfather always taught me to care for and respect the people around me. Without the support of the public, my business won't last long. Then I held up my phone and approached him to ask how he is, called the police, and called an ambulance. After learning more, I found out he was a 90-year-old elderly with no family nearby. He had fainted from hunger after not eating for over 10 hours. The elderly man refused to give out his family's phone number, probably out of fear of involving them. Feeling helpless, I had to post a video looking for his family. Eventually, his relatives came and took care of him. Many people said, "Good people live a peaceful life," while others advised me not to interfere if I encounter something like this again. I want to say that respecting the elderly and caring for children are traditional virtues we've passed down for thousands of years, but they are slowly disappearing. If we start ignoring every elderly person who falls because of isolated fraud incidents, eventually the foundation of society will collapse.
An 82-year-old woman suddenly fell while crossing the road, hitting her face hard on the ground. What's terrifying is that she fell right in the middle of constant traffic. If she had been hit by a car, the consequences would have been unimaginable. However, what was expected was that the elderly woman lay in the middle of the road, and while cars and pedestrians passed by, no one stepped forward to help. At this point, a white car hesitated for a moment, but then, ignoring the consequences of losing points, it swerved around the elderly woman and left. After some time, the elderly woman regained some consciousness. She struggled several times trying to get up, but could only lift her head slightly. At this point, a sanitation worker came over, took a quick look, but didn't dare to help and walked away. At that moment, the coldness in people's hearts was even more chilling than the biting wind, making one wonder if this is still a human world or hell. The elderly woman lay helpless in the middle of the road, as if accusing and mocking the society that the Chinese government claims is the safest in the world and the best. Just then, firefighter Li Jie was passing by and saw the scene. He immediately got out of his car to check the situation. With his rescue experience, he knew not to act rashly. He first covered the elderly woman with his coat and called for an ambulance. Then he knelt on the ground, talking to her until the ambulance arrived. They helped the elderly woman into the ambulance and she was successfully saved. Some people commented that after watching the video, they didn't know what to say. All they could hear in their hearts was one voice shouting, quote, "There are still good people in China. The good people in China haven't been wiped out by the communist bandits," unquote.
个问题，就你们遇到这种情况，你会不会去服？有的人说服，有的人说不服。其实啊，这就是
I just want to ask everyone a question. If you were in this situation, would you help? Some people say they would help, others say they wouldn't. In fact, this is a question that questions your very soul. Not helping makes you feel guilty. Helping, on the other hand, could lead to dealing with staged accidents, which would mean losing money. Nowadays, some people have lost their humanity, and when they scam you, there's no room for negotiation. Fraudulent people don't incur any costs. If they succeed, they gain income without doing any work. Even if they fail, they don't lose anything, and they don't fear being held accountable because there's no legal restraint. For this reason, some elderly people, relying on their age, think that the law won't be able to touch them. They use various methods to fraudulently create accidents, which scares many kind-hearted people. Those who are scammed suffer both financial and emotional harm, but no matter what, the bad people lose their conscience, while the good people do not. I believe that when we encounter someone who has fallen, we should still help them up, but we need to keep evidence to guard against ill intentions. Even if we have no harmful intentions, we must also take precautions. Because we're not just helping a person. The most important thing is that with our good deeds, we are helping to restore the corrupted social atmosphere. If an old man fell on the side of the road, would you help him up? I don't know if I would help. I think I would, but if it really happened, would I actually help? Sometimes, I really don't know. I really want to be a brave person, but I don't know if I'll be as brave as I imagine when the situation actually happens. But personally, I think it's still possible. At least I can start recording a video before I help, right? Before I help, I'll go live and say, "Hey everyone, I'm about to help this person. Is this okay?" Evidence. The key is evidence. So, I believe that those fraudulent old people must be severely punished. What crime have they committed? Extortion. Even if they don't manage to extort a penny, they still attempted extortion. We can't excuse them just because of their age. They must be severely punished. Offering help to those in need should be a given, but in China, it has become a huge risk. Many people are curious about what would happen if this were to occur abroad.
在新西兰，哪怕是游客，老人摔倒
In
了，
New Zealand, you can boldly help if an elderly person falls, even if they're a tourist, because there is an organization that backs you up. Yes, you heard it right. In New Zealand, there is a particularly humane and heartwarming organization that specifically provides compensation and support for accidents. This means that whether you're a local citizen, a tourist, or a student, if you have an accident in New Zealand, this organization may offer assistance. This organization is called ACC by locals. It is not an additional insurance you purchase, but a public welfare program funded by the New Zealand government. This means that regardless of whether you have private insurance, as long as you meet the criteria, ACC will provide you with support.
Actually, for the elderly or vulnerable groups, whether or not to help them when they fall or have an accident and how to help is completely a personal choice. Helping is out of conscience, not helping is a right. Helping is out of conscience, not helping is a right. But it is mostly likely that most people, when faced with such a situation, genuinely want to help others. However, due to personal interests, most people may hesitate. But in New Zealand, because of this organization, people can confidently and instinctively help others, making the decision they truly want to make without worrying about potential negative consequences for themselves. The decision to assist an elderly person who has fallen has become a moral dilemma in China, highlighting deep flaws within the country's system. This situation stems from a lack of adequate support and protection in the government's framework.